Yo, what is up? This is Derek with Real World Real IT, and I'm here to give you guys basically a brief introduction to the world of IT, which I am a part of. A little bit about me: I started off in the military doing IT, then started working in the civilian sector, and then started working with the government doing all things IT. All right. So I'm just making this video to help you guys out, give you guys some game, go in depth on some topics. So any of you guys who are looking to get into IT, you can actually get into it. So without further ado, let me go ahead and switch us over. Hope you guys are doing good today. There it is. Learning IT. What is IT? What is IT? IT is information technology. You can think your computers, printers immediately come to mind, but it also includes all the back end equipment, such as routers, switches. You have all the servers that provide all of the websites that you guys use, and it also includes all the wiring in between. Now, IT is a very in depth subject, right? Let me bring myself back. So, there's different brands, different companies, and when you go on to any company, any job site where you're dealing with anything IT, different companies use different brand products. And in a way, there's no way to actually become an absolute master in IT. There's no way to go to any network closet and be like, I know absolutely everything that I need to know to do something. There's always different brands of equipment on different versions that have different commands, different configuration requirements. It can get tricky. So, coming back here, we're going to go on to our first slide here. All right. You can see the little pointer. Areas of specialty in IT. They're all independent. Areas of information technology are all independent is very true, right? So let's say you have your computer, right? But the computer on its own isn't going to work in a business environment to get all the business done because you have information that you have to access, right? In order to handle a customer, you need to be able to, for instance, at a mechanic shop, they need to be able to see the manuals for your car, right? And technically, those would be, the data specific stuff will be held on a database on a server somewhere, not located in your area. Now you could download all of those manuals, but that's a lot of data to go through, a lot of files. They have websites and interfaces that make it a lot simpler. Um, Another thing immediately that comes to mind is your internet, right? Being able to get to websites. Let's say you need to schedule an appointment. Maybe they use a web interface in order for that to work. So somebody had to create that website along with configuring that server that hosts the website, along with connecting the network in order for that you to be able to reach that website and request web pages. That's what that means, that areas of IT, they're all independent, interdependent. They all rely on each other. Everything is a cog machine and everything is super in depth. So when you go into IT, you're going to basically choose an area of specialty. But I will give you this caveat. Let me bring myself back here. I will give you this caveat though. Like learning how each area works, right? You master one, but you understand how each other area works will give you a huge advantage in IT and make your life a lot easier. I'll show you. So here are some job specialties: help desk, you know, These are the people who work with the customers, you know, very upfront. You guys probably know who seen or worked with help desk before. You have an issue with your computer, you can't print to the printer. These are the first guys that show up, and they're very customer oriented, and they're the first ones to hit the ground when it comes to troubleshooting issues. And in the IT world, we have things called trouble tickets. And anytime there's an issue, we create a trouble ticket. And with that, you'll have the customer's name, their office, and everything. And then that way, that help desk technician can go and actually begin troubleshooting. So if the issue cannot be resolved at the help desk area, it will go to the system administrator, right? This is what we would typically call level three, or what they used to call level three. Help desk was level one and two. Help desk one was over the phone. Help desk two, you actually had a person come to you to actually look at the issue and help. And level three, which is a system administrator, these guys, they manage the print server. They manage all sorts of servers at your location. DHCP server, which gives IP addresses. DNS servers, you probably might have heard of DNS, but that basically is domain name system, and essentially it translates these IP addresses, you know, these numbers that are hard to remember, into a name that you can actually remember and type into the URL. And they have a lot of functioning on the backside along with other servers as well, like Active Directory. And then if there's unique issues, another level in the layer three is the networking. So if it's determined that it is a network issue, as in the data connection between your device, or between your device and the printer, or between the printer and the actual overall network, has an issue, then they would send these guys out. And this is a very in person job. So if you get into networking, more than likely you're going to be on site, more than likely most of the time. System administrator, help desk can be done over the phone. These are more likely to be remote jobs. Networking, we basically networking does the job so that other people can be remote. Cybersecurity, every single PC has to have some form of cybersecurity nowadays. This is protecting your data. This is when you have a breach of data, like at Target that they had a few years back, and a whole bunch of people's names and phone numbers were released. That is considered a cybersecurity issue. Now, if you're going to get into cybersecurity, man, there's a lot more to it than just the technical stuff. It's a less technical area. Help desk, system administrator, networking, you're mostly working with computers, routers, switches. You're working with computing devices. Cybersecurity, you're doing more policy. So this is more of another side of in person, you know, where you're contacting people to make sure that policies are understood. You don't necessarily have to go in person, right? You don't necessarily have to go in person in cybersecurity and basically tell people, hey, you're not supposed to do that. That violates cybersecurity. They have this thing called data loss prevention, that makes basically is a software that prevents you from taking data and putting it on a USB essentially. That's the primary function, is so to protect data. But you will be having to understand the policies, understand laws surrounding data. That's the big thing about cybersecurity. Yeah, just to get into depth there, and you have wireless. You know, you guys have APs at home probably. VoIP, which is basically the internet phones. It's basically a phone that connects through the network. A lot of sites have these. And of course, the cloud. Been hearing big about the cloud. The cloud is gonna be the new big thing in IT. A lot of governments are working to integrate a cloud system into their environment. So essentially, you have the on-prem setup where everything is actually at your site. All the servers that host all the websites. That's a big thing that actually goes into the cloud is your servers, right? You have your backups in the cloud as well. Um, but you would have equipment on site, which is your backups and your servers, and then you would have servers and backup systems that are located in the cloud, which is basically a data center somewhere. When you hear about all these data centers popping up, um, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, that's basically them setting up cloud services for their, you know, people who use those cloud services. They have to have these huge data centers. It's a huge building with all these servers. It has cooling set up in there, and that's its main purpose is just to host services, host client data. Now with the cloud, something to understand is you can create an account on Amazon Web Services, Azure, and you can go on there and you can create servers, install OSs on there. There are some services that you would have to pay for. Some services that cost a lot of money that you would have to pay for. I wouldn't recommend you pay a lot of money if you're just training and trying to figure things out. But there are some services that you can do for free or for very cheaply in order to really understand how it works. And essentially, when we're talking about interdependency, the cloud has been integrated into that. Some services have been moved to the cloud. Some services remain on-prem. To the cybersecurity aspect, it's better to have them on-prem so that they can protect those assets, those servers. As in the cloud, you're relying on a Amazon, you're relying on Microsoft to protect your servers and especially your data. You lose control of your data as well. So these are things to understand about IT in the overall environment. Let's look at this. Understanding IT requires you to understand these areas and how they work together to make a functioning IT environment. Understand these areas, how they work together to make a functioning environment. The word how is supposed to be in there. But let's move on to the next slide. No IT products used in business. This is basically your name brands. Let's see, you got IBM. They manufacture um, actual computer parts, motherboards. Cisco. These are brands that you've heard of. HP. You've probably owned an HP laptop. Microsoft. All of these. Being familiar with those allows you to really understand the brands, but also to understand how they work, understand some commands and coding along with them, right? So you want to be somewhat familiar with these because they all produce products and you're likely to run into a lot of their products when you go onto the IT environment, right? Let's go ahead and switch this back. And these are some of the systems that each job title would be working with, right? And you can see help desk, system administrator. They all got their systems that they work with, but these are some softwares and also equipment that they specifically would have to specialize in and get training on. Help desk, ServiceNow is Remedy, and these are all like ticketing systems. Reimaging, you have to reimage PCs, printers. System administrator, SCUM, WUS. SCUM is for managing user machines. WUS is for managing updates. These are all servers, right? So the system administrator really is big on managing servers, configuring servers, and some of the configurations can be quite complex, especially with different OSs. Windows is continually coming out with new operating systems. So any Windows Server operating system, a lot of them are in the cloud now. Um, you're gonna have to know how to configure these type of things, and also Linux servers as well. That might be thrown in there. Networking, Splunk. Uh, it's software that's for holding logs. Nmap is big in networking. It allows you to see all the ports that are open on your network, see what, and basically scan your network. Usually, this isn't allowed on government systems in most cases, unless you have special permission or you're a penetration tester, something like that. Uh, NetFlow, Wireshark, you know, this is traffic analysis, and of course, you probably heard of Wireshark. Um, Basically shows you all the packages. It's very useful for troubleshooting networking issues, but that's another one on government networks you have to have permission to use. Yeah, so don't use that. If you already work in IT for the government, don't use that without permission. Of course, cybersecurity. You have McAfee scans. They have all kinds of scan programs that they use to scan the network to make sure people don't have viruses on their computer, aren't downloading things that are malicious. Data loss prevention, we talked about that. Um, and also NIST is, you're going to have to get familiar with a lot of different standards, right, with cybersecurity. NIST is a organization that creates standards for network security. So it is important that you are able to know what the security standards are. So it's important that you read through their documentation, look at stuff like their risk management, how they recommend risk management, because this is the stuff that a lot of corporations would follow. Now, going back to this wireless, you got Aruba. You have a wireless controller, which is a device that is basically a manager for all your access points. So at a site, building will have multiple access points, and then you would have to find a way to see all of these access points to see whether they're up, whether they're being actually providing network services to your customers, right? And that's what the wireless controller does. It shows you which ones are down, which ones are up, which ones are passing data, and it can also show you how many users are on each access point. Very useful. VoIP, you have Cisco Call Manager, which pretty much does this very similar to what a wireless controller does, except it does it with VoIP phones. So all the phones are configured to report to this software, and you can see all of your IP phones, what phone number they have, which ones are up, which ones are down, and basically anybody who works on, they usually call them a telecom team who works with phones. They would be the ones that go around and make sure that all the phones are up. They would be assigning phone numbers to each phone, extensions, all of that stuff. And then a cloud, of course, I already talked about Azure and Amazon Web Services. And a helpful tip is when you're looking up jobs in IT, go through the job descriptions of that job posting and see what technology or skills that they're looking for. Especially pay attention to the brand of uh, of IT software that they want. Some will say Nmap, skills with that, skills with Splunk, skills with Palo Alto firewalls. Pay attention to that type of stuff and relook at your resume and see what skill sets that you actually have. If you don't know something, that's fine. You have resources like Udemy. You can go on there and look up videos on several topics. You can read documentation on the equipment. Just try to get a familiarity so that you can state a few things when you go in, if you get an interview, and be able to be successful. Some IT jobs have whiteboard tests, and some will want extensive knowledge on these things. So, prepare accordingly. Yeah, it's really in depth stuff. Trying to get hands on experience is good. Get familiar with IT standards. As you can see, most of these standards are mostly going to be seen in networking. But you got your HTTP standard right there. TCP, IP, BGP, those are all for network protocols. Telnet is essentially for connecting to your devices over the network. Let's go into it. Implementation standards, NIST. That's your security standards, right? Network protocols, you have things called requests for comment. And these are long documents that document each network protocol, essentially giving you a concept of how they work. And they talk about the concept behind why they decided to implement it the way they did. And these are official documents, and they do they come out with updated documentation, and it'll tell you if which version is obsolete and which one is not, which as these IT network protocols are improved over time. Okay, IT management standards, COBIT, ITIL, these are more standards. In cybersecurity, when you get to more advanced cybersecurity certifications, they're going to expect you to know a little bit more about these, and the overall functioning of how the IT network should be managed, the management of it, how it should be implemented, how it should be secured. Cybersecurity is one of the most extensive topics in networking. I learned that when I went and got my certification for SecurityX. It is very extensive. IT security standards, ISO 27001. That's one that's used by the government. If you want a government job, you can go ahead and learn ISO 27001. And then you have regulations, data protection. And those were the laws I was telling you about, right? You gotta learn regulations about data. You gotta learn about regulations in Europe. They got regulations on how you can manage data, and it's basically the right to be forgotten. If someone calls up and says, I want my information taken off your website, then there's laws that tell you gotta comply with that. So if you guys didn't know, you have a lot of data protection rights, right? Which is a good thing. So with that, hopefully you guys enjoyed that little quick overview. For reference for the channel, I want to go more in depth into a lot of these topics, a lot of the nuances in the IT world, with working with actual IT, getting to more um, how you got to know how everything works in order to figure out where to send the issue to, who likely would be responsible for it, for actually repairing the issue. Because if you're networking, you're not going to repair troubleshoot a server issue technically, but there could be a network component, and it's basically you're doing troubleshooting to eliminate any possibility that there's a networking issue. So it can get pretty complex. I'm here for it. I've been in IT for at least 17 years now. I have abundance of experience. I have Security Plus. I have, like I said, Security X. I have CCNA. I work mostly in networking, but I've done help desk. I've done system administrator. I've built websites. So I've done the coding too. I've done programming as well. So if you guys want to hear more about my programming too, I know that wasn't in here, but I can get more in depth into programming as well. So I think it'll be a good channel. I think it'll be great content. So if you guys are looking forward to it, please do me a favor, subscribe and hit the like button if you like this content, and you want to see more of it and it was helpful for you to get an idea and help you understand whether you want to move forward with an IT career. I have a degree in a bachelor's degree in computer science as well. But overall, degrees, they help, but they're not 100% necessary in IT in a lot of areas. But if you want to move up to manager positions, usually they still lock that behind a bachelor's degree, master's degree. It looks good. It helps. If you can do it affordably, right? This has been Real World, Real IT. It's been nice chopping it up with you guys, but I think I'm gonna close it out here. Um, I'll see you guys in the next one.